And the topic for the video is active and passive voices. Active and passive voice. I know this is one of the trickiest and one of the hardest unit, you can say. Okay, while there are so many students, there are so many people who actually find it really tricky and hard when it comes to change the form of sentence into the passive voice. Okay, so we're going to talk about the basics first, where I will make you understand that what is voice. Okay, so before talking about active and passive voice, we're gonna understand what is voice. So V for voice tells us about V for verb. Okay, so voice is a verb that tells us about the doer or the subject. Okay, also voice shows the relationship between state or action of the verb plus object. Okay, so it talks about these two things. First one is the state or action of the verb and second one is the object. Okay, now let's see one example. That is, for example, if I say that I am flying the kite. Supposedly you ask me that what are you doing, and I answer you I am flying the kite. So in this sentence, what is happening? I is the subject here. Who is the subject here? I. And what am I doing? I am flying the kite. Okay, so what does this sentence does? It tells you about the subject. Okay, so this is a form of voice where I say that I am flying the kite, means in this sentence it actually tells us about what am I doing. Okay, so this is one example of voice. So now I guess now you understand that what does it mean by voice. Now we are going to talk about the types of voices. Okay, and what are the types of voices? There are two types of voices. Now what are those two types of voices? Those two types of voices are, one of them is active voice and the other one is passive voice. Alright, one of them is an active voice and the other one is the passive voice. Now let's talk about an example. Let's use the same example. When I said that I am flying the kite, here what I was doing, I was talking about the subject where I said that I am flying the kite. Who was flying the kite? I am flying the kite. Who is the subject here? I is the subject here. Okay, so remember this point, that if a sentence begins with, if the sentence begins with a subject, so that type of sentence is in its active voice. Okay, but when I say that the kite is flown by me, so if you pay attention, you will understand that I am flying the kite. I am flying the kite. Here there are three main things used over here: I, flying and kite. Okay, so this is subject, this is verb and this is object. Alright, so it is just the opposite of the active voice. Means if a sentence begins with an object, that type of sentence is in its passive voice, or that type of sentence is in its passive form. So now I hope you understand even if you're coming across questions like change the form of sentence or specify the form of sentence, specify the voice of the particular sentence, just try to emphasize, just try to search the subject and object. So if that particular sentence starts with a subject, then that sentence is in its active voice, and if a sentence begins with an object, then that sentence is in its passive voice, or that subject is in its passive form. In the next video, I am going to talk about the rules of making passive voices, or rules of the passive forms. Okay.